In my sophomore year of high school, I was on the wrestling team. The team wasn't big, so every day I got stuck with the same wrestling partner.
My teammates were my closest friends. We had classes together, we hung out 3 to 4 hours a day.
We went to the same boarding school. Paul was 18, a star scholar athlete, and he was admitted full ride to 5 Ivy League schools.
When I was 16, my best friend Emily and I moved to a boarding school in the UK. Me, her, and a few other girls who we lived with became really close and everything was going great.
The first couple of weeks of the season, this kid, Alan, seemed like he had a fixation about wanting to wrestle me and being my practice buddy. And I'm like, cool, fine, whatever, until he sexually assaulted me.
We were close enough where they could have called me and I would have come pick my sister up at 2 in the morning.
On a Friday evening, he stole the key to the math and science building of the school, packed a backpack with a blanket, and took me inside.
Over time, we all got boyfriends.
One day at practice, we were doing our typical bullshitting before the coaches got there, and everyone was messing around until Alan said that he was going to rape me. Some guys were like, "Are you going to let him do it?"
My mother found Allison lying in below freezing weather, wearing only a t-shirt and sweatpants. Her hair was frozen to her body, and she was missing socks and shoes.
He held up my underwear tightly and pulled the front aside. He grabbed me by the waist and he forced himself on me. And then I felt something inside of me that I knew wasn't his hand.
In the last year of school, one of my friends broke up with her boyfriend, James. We were all pretty close, so I considered him a close friend, and afterwards he was completely destroyed. We met up twice to talk it all out, and he was always a really flirty guy, so I never thought it was just me.
One thing led to another, and he was kind of coming at me as we were wrestling. He kept saying that he was going to penetrate me and do all sorts of things, and I was kind of freaking out at this point and trying to fight my way off of him.
I went through Alice's text messages from the night before and saw a text from her friend Joe that read, "Adam, Sam, and Jay are here, but you can't tell your brother." And another that read, "Do you want a drink?" I felt closest with Adam, so I called him to ask what happened. He put me on hold, but then he never got back to me.
I came back to my dorm and I was confused. I told him to keep it to himself, but he told his friends. I was scared of a possible pregnancy, so I went to the nurse for Plan B.
One night, Emily invited me over to her house for a party, and James was there. We were drunk, there was a big mattress in the center of the living room, and we were all on it watching a movie. It was me, my best friend, and 2 guys. When I woke up, Emily was back in her room and fast asleep, and James's hands were all over me. They were on my breast, my butt, my clothes, and he was doing things I wasn't even consenting to.
Some guys decided to gang up on me, and it was 3 versus 1. I couldn't fight back because I had both arms and legs pinned down behind me, and I was kicking and literally screaming as he was pulling my pants down and looking me directly in the eye, saying he was going to rape me. He had my pants halfway down when the lookout kid yelled that the coach was coming.
I kept texting and calling him. After 15 minutes had gone by, I knew that he was just not going to pick up. He was going to shut his mouth and not say anything. I went to the hospital. Allison's blood alcohol content was 0.13 at 9 a.m., almost 7 hours after she had snuck out of her bedroom window to hang out with Joe and his friends. After we heard the result of Alice's medical condition, we felt sure that she had been raped.
The dorm master found me in tears the next morning and called my mom.
Now that I think back, I wonder why didn't I just kick him off and scream? I thought, what is he gonna say? Is he gonna say that I was lying and cheating on my boyfriend?
I didn't want to be at practice anymore. I came and I wrestled, but I didn't want to be there, near him, near anyone on the team.
Joe confessed to giving alcohol to Allison and having sex with her. He was charged with a felony for sexually assaulting an incapacitated victim and a misdemeanor for endangering the life of a minor. The police found out that Adam had taken a video on his iPhone. Adam was charged with sexual exploitation of a minor, which is a felony. Although I never saw the recording myself, I know that it was passed around school and I heard it was pretty gross.
When I came back to school, my friends shunned me. My volleyball teammates refused to eat with me. Boys on the hockey team would point and yell at me.
So I just laid there, and eventually he stopped and rolled over and went to sleep.
When I told my mom, she was livid and demanded that we met with the head coach. The coach ended up pulling in the other kid to get his side of the story, but it didn't go past that. He didn't get kicked off the team, nothing happened to him.
You would think Allison would receive some kind of sympathy, but it was the opposite. People started calling her a lying whore. We transferred schools. My mom lost her job. I lost my friends, and I was being harassed.
But the school assured me that when I returned, I would be safe.
It's so hard to think that someone would do that to you without your verbal consent.
I regret not pressing charges.
None of my friends have talked to me since the incident. I never thought they would do something like that to me.
For 3 years, I was so angry at myself for not pushing him and screaming at him and shaming him. But now I realize that I was just taken by surprise. No one teaches you how to react in those situations. I just did the best I could in the moment, and I had to accept that that's just the way it went.
We know that 1 in 4 girls will be assaulted between the ages of 14 and 22, and we know 1 in 6 men will be assaulted between the ages of 14 and 22. Typically, assaults occur usually on the weekends where alcohol or substances are being used, and if an assault was to happen in a school, like within a school day, and an assault occurred, the school has a responsibility to ensure the safety of the children and to explore an investigation. And if the student wants to press charges, he or she and their family should go to the police to fill out a report.
So I would say when we're talking about sexual consent and issues of sexual violence in high school, someone in education and working with adolescents, I would say the conversation ideally starts much younger, right? Before students are really even thinking about sex or have really any understanding of their sexuality. Really interesting, in the Netherlands, they have legally mandated sex education, comprehensive sex education, beginning as early as age 4. And the Netherlands has one of the lowest rates of certainly teen pregnancy, and also STD rates. Their rate of STDs is 5 times lower, teenage STDs, than the United States. And those conversations start at age 4 around sexual diversity and sexual assertiveness is a language they use, which basically means freedom of choice to engage in sexual activity with whomever you want, and your ability to have a voice in that process. So starting that conversation early and attacking it at each developmental milestone as is appropriate for that child is really critical, so that when a person gets into their teenage years and maybe making choices around their own sexual intimacy, they already have a framework and an understanding for the boundaries that will come into play around those sexual activities.
The tricky part is because most assaults occur where there's drinking involved and on the weekends or outside of school hours, because children or kids in high school are minors and under the age of 18, if you're assaulted, you would need to go to your parents and then go to the police station if you are assaulted and want to press charges. The difference between the high school and the college level is now, luckily, colleges have Title IX and responsibilities to have centers to help students who have been assaulted, and the amount of awareness around sexual assault and rape has increased exponentially in the last couple of years, and that's a really, really good thing for students going to colleges.